For show. Eugene Robinson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist with the Washington Post. Matt Schlapp is chairman of the American Consumer Union, actually conservative union, and Joan Walsh is editor-at-large for Slate. Joni, I've got to ask you the question. I know you just mock this stuff, but this show business, you're not going to get anything like this in a summer weekday from anybody else. It's something to go to see, I guess.
No, we were all watching. I mean, it was great television. He brought her up. She touches his hair. You know, he's reading aloud in his mangled Spanish from the newspaper. He's mocking the Times. He's mocking a disc jockey. He's mocking the media generally. He's calling Jorge Ramos a maniac. It was a rollicking good time for the people who were there and for those of us watching it on TV. I mean, it's not for the Republican establishment because you're right, Chris, to point to not only his 28% in that Quinnipiac poll, but Ben Carson has another 12 or 14.
Yeah, it tells you a lot. Yeah,
it tells you a lot. 40%, 4 out of 10 Republican voters are rejecting the career politicians.
Well, let's go through those numbers. Not just career, but the old grandees of the GOP, the ones who are the party, who thought it was their turn.
Yes.
A new Quinnipiac University poll out today, as Joan said, shows Donald Trump pulling away. He now leads the Republican field nationally. Look at that number, 28%. 16 points out of his nearest rival, who is also not part of the establishment, has never run for office, the brilliant Dr. Ben Carson. Well, the pollster points out this is the highest tally and the widest margin for any Republican candidate so far in this election season. Even more striking, I believe, is what's happening to Jeb Bush. This is powerful stuff. The guy everybody knows, and everybody knows whose brother he was, whose father's was, is down to 7. 1 in 12 or whatever, 1 in 13 or 1 in 14. I'm sorry, I forgot my math from high school. 1 in 14, which is his lowest support in a major national poll since 2 years ago. The headline in the Hill newspaper, by the way, sums it up. Pollster dumbfounded by Trump. Quote, the businessmen's dominance of the Republican presidential race is forcing experienced political hands to question whether everything they know about winning the White House is wrong. Matt Schlapp, you're an experienced political hand, like out from the old Ponderosa. I think, do you agree with me, the big story here is the apparent rejection this season of the establishment?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, you look at poll after poll after poll. Some of these state polls show Trump, Carson, Fiorina in the lead. They're willing to take a chance with someone who's never spent one day in elected office. They think this town's broken. They want to run against this town. And by the way,
I think it's a rejection not just of the party establishment, but the government establishment. Because if you ask, Gene, you ask anybody, the country, what they think of the worth of Congress, our legislative body, the one that runs the country, it's like 9%.
It's down to friends and family. Yes, I mean, that's all it is. And
that tells you why a Trump would do well.
In my column for tomorrow's paper, I say the Republican establishment seems to me to be going through Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief, right? So the first is denial, okay? They've denied it. This isn't happening. This can't be happening.
Hey, the Clintons could be going through this, too. So we'll
get to that. But we're talking about so, you know.
Who's the anti-establishment candidate?
Well,
it's not the same as this guy. It's not symmetrical.
Nothing is like Trump. But you have to say the dynamics on the Democratic side are very similar, with the fact that there's a rejection of what they're supposed to do.
But that's ideological more. I think it's more, I'll get back to Joan. I think it's more, Joan, isn't that more ideological? If you're for Bernie, it's not like you're against the establishment. It seems like you have a different philosophy. You want more government activity. You want more redistribution. You want action on the tax front, on the student loan front.
I think there's been a surge
in infrastructure. You want things done. Trump doesn't want particular things done.
Right. I mean, Bernie Sanders has a program. Some people don't like it. Some people love it. And there's really a demand for populism in the Democratic Party. So it's coherent. It's cogent. It's about ideas and it's about solutions. You know, with Trump, it's really about telling people kind of what they want to hear. And I also think we have to admit that this is part of...
Isn't that politics?
This is part of what the Republican Party has brought this on themselves by making a lot of promises, and I think even Matt might agree with me on some of this, that the leaders couldn't keep. We're going to repeal Obamacare.
Okay, by the way, before you dismiss politicians telling people what they want to hear, Barack Obama told me what I wanted to hear. Bush is an imbecile, and we got to have a smarter guy as president. We get out of this stupid war in Iraq and the mentality behind it. I wanted to hear that.
Yeah, but he had programs, many of which he enacted. I mean, he had coherent programs.
Don't do stupid stuff.
Well, on foreign policy, but domestically he had a lot of ideas. So it wasn't just pie in the sky, Chris. This is pie in the sky.
Well, let's look at this. Here's told crowds today that his campaign is built on a simple message. Then he bashed the heck out of Jeb Bush. Let's let him describe his message.
we have a message, and the message is, and essentially, we're not going to take it anymore. We're just not going to take it anymore. Jeb Bush, and I keep using him because I used to think he was like the guy that you had to beat. But he's like mired down. He's going down fast. I don't even know who's second. It's like, I really was hitting Bush hard. I actually felt sorry for him because he's such a nice person. I can't call him Bush. He doesn't use his last name. Did you ever see a sign that says Jeb Bush or Bush? Now, there's a reason he doesn't use his last name, because it's not going to work too well.
I mean, I guess that's the thing about him that I find engaging. Forget politics. Forget who should be the next president. Yeah. There's something engaging about a guy who sort of externalizes his sort of thinking. It's sort of crazy thinking.
No, look.
What is he doing there?
Great performer. He's a great performer. I'll bet, and I haven't seen that whole, press availability, but I bet he slipped in a low-energy person about Bush, which is what he's been calling him recently, because it drives Bush crazy. Right?
Well, in 1946, one of the great, Gene and I, we all studied this. Maybe you're too young for this, but we all studied this. Joan, the most successful, I think, slogan of any candidates in history. 1946, the Republican slogan was everywhere. Had enough? Mm-hmm. It just captured it all. It's time for a change. We had inflation and all this stuff, the war, just too much with the Fair Deal and the New Deal. They just had enough of it.
That's right.
The shortages, the rationing. And so they said, had enough. This guy is almost like Howard Beale. In fact, he's using the words of Howard Beale. Can't take it anymore. Right. So he doesn't have to be specific. We just don't like these bums in there now.
Yeah. Look, I think there's another way to say that, which is it's kind of our turn. This is kind of ours to lose in the sense that...
Be careful that. That's what Bush thought.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
But hold on. It is...
That's what Hillary believes, by the way.
I embrace the fact that I like the Bush family, okay? I might be the only one
who does that. Is that what you think of? Is that... No, you think of the word Bush.
I think that there is no question that the country is willing to give the Republicans a chance to make their case, because they very rarely give people 3 terms in a row.
You think that? Yeah, you think your party has got the edge going into this next election?
I don't think it has an electoral college edge, but I do think there is a fatigue out there for any president. George W. Bush had it. 8 years of Obama is a lot. There was a lot of change, and there's a lot of people that aren't happy with that change. Look at the polls. It's in the polls.
Gene, I'm looking at all the demographic numbers about the number of white voters. You've seen the papers today. Yeah. The number of whites, it's like Philadelphia used to be. It goes down. Frank Rizzo needed to take 87% of the white vote to win a primary.
It's a bad strategy.
It doesn't work.
Exactly. It's a terrible strategy because demographics prove the point, basically. You can't just ignore
white people.
Look, we want to
can't ignore 38% of America.
Because that means the number today was you have to carry 65.
That's right.
We shouldn't even be talking about this in America. It sounds like South Africa, talking in group identity. Yeah. But you have to get 65% of the white vote to win if you're a Republican.
Look, if we want to be a majority party, the Republican Party should want to be everyone's party, and it shouldn't just be a regional party or a white party. I don't want that.
I got Joan, your last thought here, because if it does get down to demographics, Hillary's got the great advantage if she runs a competent, smart campaign. She doesn't have to be charismatic.
Any Democrat has the great advantage, especially if they run somebody like Donald Trump. And Bush's thing was that he was the electable guy. I mean, Matt's right. There is a chance. There is fatigue. There's always fatigue after 2 terms. But with these electoral college numbers and these demographic numbers, there's not much of a chance, and there's no chance that they nominate Trump.
Joan, you know the numbers as fast as I know them. We got numbers showing there's a significant advantage if Joe Biden runs over Hillary Clinton against the opponents, which I didn't think was coming at all.
Well, that is one poll. We'll see. We've got to keep an eye on that.
You think it's an outlier?
There'll be more to follow.
Actually.
Okay, we'll see. Anyway, thank you, as always, Joan Walsh, for being a part of our show, and Eugene Robinson as well, and thank you, Matt Schlapp.